Ms. Garcia, please come forward. Members, item number 4, AB 82 is the number. Welcome, Ms. Garcia.
Thank you. Before my opening statement, I want to address the amendment. While I am not taking the amendment today, it was brought to my attention by Mr. Chairman about consistency issues of how the DMV addresses these programs. And in that sake, I really do agree with you. And I do commit to get to a resolution to make sure whatever moves forward in the next committee, if this gets out, is consistent, and whether that's opt-in, opt-out, and what that looks like in those details as we look into that, since that information was brought to my attention last minute. The amendment was not brought to my attention last minute, actually, in all fairness. The amendment was brought to my attention a while ago. The information about consistency was brought to me last minute, and so I want to thank you for that information and my commitment, while we haven't reached a consensus to date, if this gets out, to work on that item as this moves forward.
And I appreciate your thoughtfulness, and my pledge to work with you to make sure that you're successful and that we do work through a process, a consistency with the process. So thank you very much. Please proceed.
Thank you. AB 82 will help men between the ages of 18 and 25 to register with the Selective Services through the new driver's license application. A very similar bill, AB 2201, carried by Assemblymember Rocky Chavez, came through this committee last year and left the Assembly floor with strong bipartisan support. An estimated 270,000 men turn 18 in California each year and are required by federal law to register with the Selective Services. By 26, approximately 33,000 men in California have failed to register and become permanently barred from registering if they do not do it in time, which means these men are in violation of the law for not registering, and by doing so, they forfeit a number of benefits, whether it's knowing or unknowing along the way, such as federal education grants, including Cal Grants, all job training programs like computer training, truck driving, carpentry, that are tied to federal dollars, whether partial or full funding, and millions of federal jobs. In some municipalities like San Francisco, you cannot get a public safety job if you have not proved that you are registered with the Selective Services. And more recently, California Dreamers are being affected. The law states that if you fail to register, you're barred from applying for citizenship until you are 31 years of age. I want to today with me to testify. I have United States Selective Services Director Lawrence Romo from Washington, D.C., who's here to answer your questions. We also have Mariano Campos, Jr., Associate Director for Operations, U.S. Selective Services, Ulysses Gonzalez from League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, and Julie Lynn from the United States Selective Services.
Ms. Garcia, in all fairness, we did alert staff to 3 witnesses for two minutes, so please
so I will ask
select
for one
your
of you.
Most compelling witnesses.
They promise to keep it to 3.
You'll remember it's a support also.
Thank you.
Now.
Keep it short. Keep it short.
Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Mario Campos. I'm responsible for managing the Selective Service Systems Registration Program. I've helped implement the legislation from the other 27 states and 2 territories that have passed this type of automatic legislation. The implementation in the other states went smoothly and in almost all cases without any issues. None of these states received any negative feedback or slowdown in their DMV offices when processing driver's license applications. We work closely with each individual DMV to determine the easiest, most efficient, and cost-effective method to transfer the data. Selective Service is very serious about protecting the personally identifiable information on every man, and this has not changed over time. We alone control our database. There is nothing we collect during the registration which informs Selective Service of a man's immigration status or citizenship. Consequently, there is nothing we possess to provide the United States Customs and Immigration Service about whether or not a man is legal or undocumented. In addition, I also oversee the National Call Center for Selective Service, and they witness firsthand every day the problems men encounter when they realize they did not register with Selective Service. Annually, the Center receives tens of thousands of letters and phone calls from the men who have been denied government benefits because of their failure to register. The dollar loss annually to California educational institutions equals tens of millions. Over a period of 7 years, we conservatively estimate a loss of close to $215 million in potential benefits. The majority of time, these cases result in a loss of opportunity to pursue education or job training, or in the loss of an actual job. AB 82 protects these benefits for men in California and assures they've complied with the Federal Law to Register. Thank you very much.
Next witness, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Julie Lynn. I'm the California State Director for the Selective Service and fourth-generation Californian. The one great thing about our country is that even in dire and national emergency, we still do not require men who have a sincere belief system that all wars are immoral to serve in the military. Instead, we have a very expansive alternative service system. For example, Mr. Medina, Assemblymember Medina, if you were a conscientious objector and we had a national emergency that required a draft and your lottery number was chosen, you would claim an exemption. You would then meet a local board of volunteers from your community whose demographics mirror your community, and they would interview you, determine that you genuinely have these beliefs. You would then be turned over to the alternative service system. They would then interview you and find you a public service position completely in line with your belief system at a at a hospital, maybe a hotel, a nonprofit, Red Cross, something completely in line with your belief system. AB 82 proposes that on the DMV application, besides the registration information, we have a website on there for conscientious objectors to go to for more information, just to ease their mind. Lastly, the millennial generation, they are born in a digital world. They expect automation. AB 82 does just that. It provides them the automated one-stop shopping. They go get their driver's license, they register for Selective Service, and they can register to vote. When a man turns 26, he can never register again and loses a lot of benefits tied to registration. AB 82 promotes fairness and equality and provides the automated process that young men expect. And lastly, we respect the belief system of the conscientious objectors. Thank you.
Third witness.
Good afternoon. My name is Ulises Gonzalez, Senior Development Manager for the League of United Latin American Citizens. LULAC is the nation's oldest and largest Latino civil rights organization working to advance the Latino community. LULAC and 17 other organizations, including Laneros, supports AB 82. As the U.S. Census indicates, Latinos are a large portion of the California population, and LULAC supports the idea of an automatic registration when seeking a driver's license to ensure that Latino young men and other young men in California comply with federal law and are not penalized when receiving receiving benefits. This was important to California because a large pool of immigrants who might not be college-bound in their youth or may not have received proper counseling may not register for the Selective Service, therefore losing benefits. So when you apply for jobs on usajobs.gov, you're asked if you are registered for the Selective Service. So AB 82 would ensure that immigrants comply with federal law. In addition, when you register for the Selective Service, you receive a registration card. This is a great document that immigrants may present in their immigration application process that proves when they were here in this country. Overall, this bill would help California's economy as it would ensure that many immigrants have access to federal jobs and financial aid, and LULAC believes it will provide economic benefits to California. Thank you.
So any other members of the public that wish to testify in support, you state your name, who you represent, and that you do support, and please limit it to that.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Michael McGee with the California Community College Chancellor's Office. We are also in support.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairman and Honorable members of the Assembly. My name is K.V. Kumar. I am the President and CEO of the U.S.-India Foundation and Chairman Emeritus of the U.S. Indian American Chamber of Commerce. We have had countless number of inquiries about this issue.
Sir, we're going to limit it to
We support this issue.
Thank you.
David Henderson. I'm an American soldier of the Vietnam era. I appear today as a member of the American GI Forum of California, and I offer my remarks on behalf of our state commander who's detained because of illness because of that conflict. We appear in support of this measure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next witness.
Mr. Chairman, members, Pete Conity representing the veterans groups who are listed in support of this measure, as we have for the last 10 years. Please move this bill forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition to the author's bill? You can come up to the dais. 3 witnesses, 2 minutes each, please.
Thank you, Chairman and Member. Jim Lindberg on behalf of the Friends Committee on Legislation of California. We're a Quaker-based advocacy group, regretfully in opposition to AB 82. Many of our members object to conscription on the basis of religious tradition and or personal convictions, but I want to be very clear today that we are not asking for a religious or personal belief exemption from federal law. Rather, I'm speaking on behalf of those who have thought through the issue carefully, have weighed the potential consequences, and have chosen not to register with the Selective Service System. Unfortunately, the Selective Service System does not recognize conscientious objectors. Our objection to AB 82 is based on the bill's conclusive presumption that a male driver's license applicant consents to registering with the Selective Service System. For many people, this simply does not comport with the facts. The law should not state otherwise. Moreover, there is no logical connection between legally operating a motor vehicle and registering with the Selective Service System. This bill would deny a person a driver's license solely because of their religious or personal convictions. If a licensed driver messes up on the road and the DMV wants to take away a driver's license, then the DMV rightfully has to jump through some hurdles in order to do that. There are some due process protections inherent in those procedures. We pay taxes and fees to the DMV for the purpose of maintaining safety on our roads, not to administer federal programs. And while the Selective Service provides some funding for implementation, the DMV would have to absorb the ongoing cost. Furthermore, the Selective Service System has other tools to promote compliance, such as its taxpayer-funded internet campaigns, media campaigns, and prosecuting people. AB 82 also runs afoul of the California Constitution's guarantee of a right to privacy, which was passed in 1972. California voters ratified Proposition 11, which amended Article 1, Section 1 of the state constitution to make the right to privacy explicit. The voter guide
I'm going to
arguments...
ask you to wind it down in one sentence, please.
Yes, I will. Thank you. Lastly, it should be noted that 13 states, 2 territories, and the District of Columbia, registration for a driver's license application is optional and not automatic. Thus, out of 56 jurisdictions, 26
Sir, that's a real long sentence. Thank you. Next witness, please keep to 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Deborah Rieger, State Chair of the Peace and Freedom Party of California. The Peace and Freedom Party opposes this bill, and for many of the reasons the previous speaker spoke, but basically, it's not the DMV's business to ensure that people register for the draft. It is not the DMV's business to take care of this wider range. It's already a very large department. It has complex computer systems, and many state computer systems have some challenges with implementing new things. It's going to be very expensive, even though I know there's a dollar amount in here. I think it will be hard to implement. I think the belief that it's a good thing because it will make sure that many young men get benefits that they would be entitled to just by registering for the draft does not necessarily make it good. All of these men could register for the draft anyway. It's public information. It's not a secret how you register for the draft. If they want the benefits, they can register. I think it's wrong for them to have to register automatically. I do like a suggestion I read that an opt-out option be considered, and those people could opt out and say they're conscientious objectors. The way it's written, it appears that if you get a driver's license, you automatically get your name sent in, and then you get a website that you can write to and say, oh, I'm a conscientious objector. I think that's backward. If someone has an ethical reason for not wanting to serve, not being able to ethically, morally serve, he or he should be able to opt out prior to that. And thank you.
Next witness, please. Please limit it to 2 minutes.
I'm John Rieger, president of the local chapter of Veterans for Peace. Veterans for Peace opposes establishing a link between California driving privileges and the Federal Selective Service. There's no logical link between the DMV and the draft. The California Department of Motor Vehicles should not become an enforcement arm of the U.S. military. The bill does not allow a reasonable way for citizens who have a moral or religious objection to war or the military to opt out of registering for the draft. After the fact, opt-out is not a reasonable way to do it. And we realize there are many consequences of not registering for the draft, but we believe that the individuals should make that decision as to whether they want to bear those consequences and not have the state of California make that decision for them. Military conscientious objectors should have the same driving rights as any other citizen of this state, and that should not be subject to federal military requirements. Veterans for Peace urges you to vote no on AB 82, a bill that would turn our DMV into an arm of the U.S. military. Thank you.
Next member of the public would like to testify who you are, where you're from, and support. Opposition.
Mr. Chair and members, Tim Chang with the Auto Club of Southern California. We have an opposed unless amended position on this bill based on the ongoing cost to DMV.
Next witness.
Gina De Silva with the California Immigrant Policy Center. We are opposed unless amended due to strong concerns with relation to privacy and confidentiality for AB 60 driver's licenses.
Next witness.
Mr. Chair and members, Kevin Baker for the American Civil Liberties Union, also opposed unless amended. We withdraw our opposition with the opt-in.
Thank you. Any members of the committee would like to ask questions of the author? Ms. Melendez first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Garcia, is there an opportunity for someone who is a conscientious objector, if your bill is signed into law, is there an opportunity for them to state that they are a conscientious objector and that they have, reasons that they cannot serve? In a brief answer would be best, please.
Once they register, if we were ever to, in the unlikely event we were to declare a draft, they could apply for they would have to apply for conscientious objector status at that time, and we determine that through a local board.
So the answer is yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Medina?
Yes, I want to thank the author for bringing the bill forward, and I do have a question to the Selective Service. I was a high school teacher dealing with lots of young people, and as chair of higher education, I certainly want to see the maximum amount of money coming to California students, to all California students. But my question to you is, what are the efforts that the Selective Service has in place to make the law known to everyone?
Well, sir, we do have efforts. Unfortunately, just like everybody else, we're victims of budget cuts. We have a $22.9 million budget, and two-thirds of that goes to salaries, so you can imagine what's left for operations. But to answer your question directly, we do have people that try to outreach to high schools, for example, the registrars, to get that word out. We do have volunteers in every state that help us get the word out. We work through people who are working with our local boards, for example, same thing, to get to influencers to get this message out. So a lot of it is, for lack of a better term, catch as catch can. In terms of actual advertising, again, since budgets are limited, we do have public service announcements. We also do focus groups to reach out there, and then
reminder letters.
Oh yes, and we also do send reminder letters out, compliance letters. So, for example, when somebody turns 18 and we don't hear anything from them, we send a letter out automatically to anyone saying, "Hey, it's time to register. You're 18." Now, whether or not they decide to register is up to them. So we do send out compliance letters.
That's to all males that turn 18?
Yes.
I thank the author, and I will be supporting this bill today.
Any other questions of committee? Mr. Blum?
Thank you for bringing this bill forward. I'm going to reserve judgment for the floor, but today I'm going to vote aye on the bill. I do prefer the opt-in language, so I just want to let you know that now. I want to get this out of committee, and we'll look forward to seeing the bill amended. Thank you.
Mr. Chu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Member Garcia, for bringing this over. I do believe serving in the military is an honor for all citizens. But I have some reservation about this bill. First of all, I do agree with some opposition. That's really not a business of DMV, and I think the selective services can do a better outreach. And also, I will say when the selective services open this benefit to all men and women, that come to age 18, then I will probably reconsider this bill and vote it in support.
Mr. Nazarian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your comments at the beginning of the committee. I want, as we spoke over the weekend, I want to be supportive of your efforts. My only concern is when it comes to the population that we've worked so hard to try to move the ball forward with, at the lack of the effort that the federal government has placed, to now create potential consequences for them with this measure concerns me. So I want to support you today, but I very much would like to see some changes put into place, or certain safeguards put into place, to protect the AB 60 population moving forward. Thank you.
Any members of the committee wish to continue questioning or statements? Seeing none, Ms. Garcia, would you like to close?
Yes, I want to thank the committee for their thorough comments today. I think you have given the selective services some food for thought of things they need to be doing beyond the legislature, and I do encourage them to work with that. I want to thank the committee and the consultants. I want to make sure if this moves, as this moves forward, that we create a bill that people are comfortable with on the floor as well, and we address those reservations of Mr. Bloom, Mr. Chu, and Mr. Nazarian. And so you have my commitment to ensure consistency, which last-minute information seems to be that all of our projects, including the bill that we just on elections, has opt-in, opt-out. How that looks, definitely want to work to make sure we get to that consistency, which I think might not remove all of the opposition, but start to address some of the opposition we saw here today. And so I do want to make sure we work with the groups along the way to create a bill that's fair, and all the stakeholders have a say in, and so I look forward to that process. And the last thing I will say to Mr. Kansan-Chu about selective services that's inclusive of male and females along the way. I think asking the military to look at ways to make sure that we are treating males and females at an equal level in all respects is a good idea, and something I would definitely be willing to work with as the Vice Chair of the Women's Caucus, and I think it's an issue that should be addressed also, and so I appreciate that being brought forward as an item, not just on selective services, but in general for the military as a whole. With that, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Assemblymember Garcia, and our lengthy conversations as of yesterday and today on the floor. And thank you for acknowledging the consistency on programs like organ donation and voter reg, opt-in, opt-out. Could be problematic if we didn't address those going forward. And again, as identifying the AB 60 population, and also my bill, the AB 935 for the veterans designation on the driver's license bill, at some point we've got to make sure that we're protecting the DMV's process so that they're not overloaded and our constituents in other manners are not taken care of long lines in that process. So with your consideration and your thoughtfulness on moving forward, I'm supporting the bill moving forward, again, on that basis that we are looking at the consistency of the programs as I identified. So, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is a due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier.
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Ashajian. Aye. Ashajian, aye. Baker. Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom. Bloom, aye. Santiago. Chu.
And I'll correct myself. We did have a motion by, I think it was Mr. Dodd. It was hours ago, it seems like, but we did have two motions.
A motion by Mr. Dodd, a second by Mr. Ashajian.
Ashajian and Mr. Dodd, and then Mr. Ashajian, just to clarify. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
I'm going to start from the beginning.
Yes,
the motion is a due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier.
Aye again.
Frazier, aye. Ashajian. Aye again. Ashajian, aye. Baker. Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom. Aye. Bloom, aye. Santiago. Chu. No. Chu, no. Daly. Aye. Daly, aye. Dodd. Aye. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Gomez. Kim. Aye. Kim, aye. Linder. Aye. Linder, aye. Medina. Aye. Medina, aye. Melendez. Melendez, I. Nazarian. Nazarian, I. O'Donnell. O'Donnell, I. It has 11 to 1.
That bill is 11 to 1. It's out. We'll leave the roll open for absent members. Thank you. Looking forward to working with you. So right now we have item number 8, Assembly Bill 338. Mr. Hernandez. And Mr. Hernandez, you wanted to make an opening statement about your other bill, AB 620?
Yeah, for more conversation.
Okay. Okay. Please open with that, sir. Yeah, AB 620 members, which is pulled. 13, excuse me. File item number 13. He's just going to open with that and then move on to his next bill.
Okay, so Mr. Chair and members, Assembly Bill 620 requires LA Metro to provide hardship exemptions to low-income commuters from paying toll charges on the express lanes if they meet the income eligibility requirements of certain safety net programs. The bill also requires LA Metro to provide some relief to moderate-income commuters, such as reduced toll charges. While it is clear that transportation needs additional funding, it is also clear voters feel ambivalent about tolling, even in Orange County. AB 620 brings up complex social policy issues within the context of using tolling as a tool to bring additional revenue to transportation and as a method to influence the behavior of commuters. The committee analysis raises 2 issues, and I would like to address them. First, the analysis raises a concern that providing free toll access to low-income populations will result in significant increase in congestion on the lanes. LA Metro's own data on low-income assistance program is instructive in answering this concern. There are roughly 200,000 express lanes account holders, and less than 6,000 are enrolled in low-income assistance program. Overall, these commuters account for 1.2% of the tolled trips. Moreover, the data tells us that over 80% of the trips taken by low-income users with equity plans were toll-free trips.
Mr. Hernandez, you know the bill was pulled.
Yes, yes.
And I was giving you an open statement, but we're actually going over the merits of the bill. So the bill was pulled. So I wanted you to be brief just about why it was being pulled, and that I could.
Did you pull it?
Yeah, we pulled it based on your information.
So I'm getting right to that. So
okay, please be brief because it was pulled.
So I'm getting right to that. So understanding that this is a reality.
This was pulled by your staff.
No, the reality in LA County, I've had a conversation with you today. And what I'm trying to get to is that you've made a commitment, and I know that you said you were going to articulate about that here, that we'll work together on this issue, and that we're going to send a message to LA County that they need to work on this issue. Based on that understanding, I'm willing to pull the bill today. But it's not an issue that's going to go away, and it's not an issue that I'm going to relent on, but I am committed to working with you to ensure that LA Metro is doing what they committed to.
So with that, and you and I did have that discussion, I do want to make this statement that I shared with you, and I am committed to working with you as we move forward more and more on value pricing programs. And it's important that we don't lose sight of the disproportionate impact transportation has on low-income families, and I will work with you to make sure that Metro acknowledges this and does a better job acknowledging that low-income families actually are impacted and need to increase their awareness going forward. That is a commitment I have from you. So we'll move on to the next bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Assembly Bill 338 allows the LA Metro to impose by ordinance an additional countywide 1/2 cent sales tax for transportation purposes if approved by 2/3 of the voters. The bill includes safeguards and transparency language to ensure an equitable investment of resources within the county and requires notification to the legislature prior to amending the adopted expenditure plan. The bill also limits the collection of the tax to 30 years and allocates a certain percentage of the revenues for bus and rail operations. While Los Angeles County continues to experience some of the most challenging traffic congestion in the state and the nation, voters have recognized the importance of investing in transportation network that is responsive to the needs of commuters, transit users, then that facilitates the movement of goods in the region. Most importantly, voters have responded to an expenditure plan that can demonstrate fairness in the distribution of these investments throughout the region that is taxed. across the same region. As LA Metro continues to work with the Sub-Regional Council of Governments to develop priorities for a potential expenditure plan for a new sales tax measure, AB 338 furthers that commitment by providing constructive parameters to ensure a fair and equitable distribution of resources and investments throughout the county. Moreover, AB 338 recognizes best practices by investing in transit and rail as an important part of addressing the traffic issues in Los Angeles. In closing, AB 338 provides an approach to bringing additional resources to LA County predicated on fairness, transparency, and an acknowledgement of past best practices. Here with me to testify in support is Barry Broad on behalf of Amalgamated Transit Union, and also Mr. Cesar Diaz on behalf of the building trades.
So I'll remind your witnesses, 3 witnesses, 2 minutes. Please.
I'll be very brief. Barry Broad on behalf of the Amalgamated Transit Union. This merely authorizes a measure to be placed on the ballot for voters in LA County, as has been the case in the past, and it's usually passed this legislature on a bipartisan basis. We'd urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Next witness, please. 2 minutes.
Mr. Chair, members, Cesar Diaz on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. Also echo the comments made by my colleague. LA has done a tremendous job at providing important transportation measures that relieve congestion. It's badly needed, and they need more. And they're going to the voters, which is, I think, something that's important. If you also heard another piece of legislation dealing with voter participation. So we thank the author and urge your support. Thank you.
Next witness.
Mr. Chairman and members, Michael Turner on behalf of the LA County MTA Board of Directors. The Board of Directors has adopted officially a work with author position on the measure. I would first like to express my gratitude to Assemblymember for his work with us on this bill as well as on the Hot Lanes bill. I very much appreciate the effort and the spirit in which the dialogue has continued on those matters. But with respect to this bill, the official position is to work with author. The board's preference is that the authorization to place the measure on the ballot should be a simple, straightforward authorization, as is done for all the other counties in the state that have pursued sales tax measures. We would prefer not to have projects and programs specified in the legislation. We have been working with Senate President Pro Tem Kevin De Leon on SB 767, which is our sponsored measure, but we do recognize that there are elements of this bill, for example, the references to geographic equity, that could be incorporated into the final version of the legislation. So at that point, that is our current position. We remain available to work with both houses on the final form of the legislation, and we'll certainly work with the Assembly member as this moves forward.
Thank you for that. Any other members of the public that would like to testify in support? Any members of the public that would like to testify in opposition?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members, good afternoon. David Wolf with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We're opposed to this bill. And it's worth noting, members, that there is precedent for our opposition on this bill. We opposed AB 2321 back in 2008, which authorized what ultimately became Measure R in Los Angeles County. So there's longstanding regard for us opposing these types of bills. And let's understand the reason why we're opposing it. We're obviously okay with a 2/3 vote on the local level for these kind of sales taxes or special taxes that are in place. But the issue is, this authorization establishes a negative taxation precedent, which is why it's here before you, in that it exempts out the tax from the current 2% Bradley-Burns rate. That's been in place, members, since 1955. And in essence, what that ensures is that inefficiencies, complications for retailers, and just the general principles of uniformity within local government regarding taxation policy remains in place. You don't want different sales tax levels across different cities and different counties. And the more we exempt various taxes from this 2% rate, the more that risks occurring. And we just think it's awful precedent in tax policy and would ask for a no vote.
Any other members of the public that would like to testify in opposition? Committee members have any questions of the author?
Move to floor. Move to approve.
We have one motion. Mr. Hernandez, would you like to close?
Yes, I respectfully ask for your vote.
So I do have Mr. Chu as the first and Mr. Nazarian as the second. Mr. Hernandez, I'll be supporting your bill today on this sales tax measure. Ultimately, it will be up to Los Angeles County voters that they want to be able to tax themselves and to support transportation improvements. And again, this is giving the people the ability to decide if they want to do this or not.
That's right.
Doesn't impose. So I'm happy to give them this ability to take that vote, and I wish them luck. With that, I'll be supporting your bill. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is a due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier.
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Ashajian. Baker. No. Baker, no. Bloom. Santiago. Chu. Aye. Chu, aye. Daly. Dodd. Aye. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Gomez. Kim. No. Kim, no. Linder. No. Linder, no. Medina. Aye. Medina, aye. Melendez. Melendez, no. Nazarian. Aye. Nazarian, aye. O'Donnell. Aye. O'Donnell, aye.
Bill is 6-5. We'll leave the roll open for absent. Excuse me, 6-4. We'll leave the roll open for absent members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Mr. Cooley. Members, it's item number 14, AB 652. Mr. Cooley. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Please proceed when ready.